I don't believe maths is a difficult subject. But I surely believe that when children are taught how to solve a problem before why they are solving a problem, then it becomes difficult. I believe that exactly where the fear of maths begins. Hi, I'm Sonia from Easy Maths. For years, I have worked with children of different ages, from younger children just beginning their maths journey to the teenagers preparing for important exams, and whether they are in primary school or in secondary school. I hear the same statement from all of them again and again. Ma'am, I am not good at maths. I need your help. Every time I hear it, my heart sinks. Was this child really born afraid of maths? I don't think so. I believe most children are naturally curious. They enjoy solving maths, asking questions, puzzles, games, and asking why again and again. But along the way, we adults reduce that curiosity by not answering their questions and creating confusion in their mind. And when the confusion continues for a long time, it turns into fear. So today I am going to share 7 mistakes that we adults as educators, parents, teachers do to create the fear of maths. So it's not the fault of the child that he hates maths or has a fear for maths or just numbs out while solving the difficult questions. It's we who have created that fear. So let's find a way, first understand the problem, and then I'll talk about the solution of the problem. So here I'm talking about the 7 mistakes that we adults do while educating our kids for maths. The first thing, the topic that we introduce to our kids is usually not introduced with a why. It's introduced how to solve it. We tell our children, use this formula and solve the question. But why should the child use the formula? Why should he learn fractions? For instance, I'm giving an example. If you're teaching a child fraction and say the numerator and denominator make a fraction, it's difficult for a child to memorize those two difficult words, that numerator and denominator makes a fraction. Instead of that, if we take a chocolate and demonstrate and tell the child that if you divide it into 2 equal halves, then one part will be on the top. We call it, if I'm talking about one part, it will be 1 out of the 2 parts, and this is represented as 1 upon 2. It makes real sense. It makes real sense to be adult also, but for the kid it really makes a lot of difference, because then the fraction concept is not fear mongering on him. He's learning it with fun because we're talking about chocolates. The second mistake that we do is weak foundation. Okay, we are teaching the child fractions, but is the child really aware of the whole numbers? Is the child aware about the natural numbers? Can we really tell them they understand what is division? Do they understand multiplication well? Are they able to do that? Then, see, there is always a step 1 and then a step 2. The same happens with the child. Building a maths concept is like making a building. And if the foundation is not good, the building is going to collapse. And when the child reaches senior classes, the child might not like maths because his foundations, he is not able to do, suppose it's an algebra question. The child is not able to do simple linear equations, and we are expecting the child to do quadratic equations. Not possible. So we need to go stepwise when we are teaching a maths concept. And if your child has already reached a secondary section, then take some time, take a pause, first clear the basics and then let them go ahead. It's never too late. The third mistake that we do is no real life connection. Okay, so real life connection, I mean the first example I gave of chocolate. The other example I would say percentage. Whenever I'm talking about percentage, I tell it's a most important topic because we are going to talk about the sale that's there in the season sale is there in the malls. So when you go to the market, there is a 50% sale. What does it mean? How much money are you going to pay there? Okay, we are going to learn a trick how to find 10%. So we have to create that curiosity. We have to create that linkage of why we are teaching that concept to the child and where will he need that concept. Why should he learn it? The other day I was doing some questions with the children and they were expected to give 5 to 7 solutions of the same questions. So they said, ma'am, one solution is enough. I said, no. If there is a problem, there might be many solutions to it. And we are teaching you to learn how to find different solutions. We are creating a muscle memory in your brain where you learn how to find different solutions for a problem that you face in life. So the child feels, oh, this maths is going to relate in our life somewhere. And it creates a curiosity and they don't question our teaching. Okay, coming to the fourth mistake, no visualizations. We talk about cubes, we talk about cuboids. It's abstract for the child. What are we talking about? We're talking about volume, area. The child does not understand what is volume. So please, I request to all the teachers and educators, take some visual aids to teach the child. Now, our curriculum is also forcing us to use math labs. That's what the purpose is. We have to use some visual aids for the kids to learn maths. Models, some stories, some animation video, something. Some animation video is also perfect. But before we teach the core concept of a topic, we really need to, the child needs to visualize the concept of maths. Maths in itself is an abstract concept. So what is number 2, 3? That's all itself is very abstract. So we have to make the child, even the kindergarten, understand what is 2. If we are telling 2, then we have to show them 2 chocolates. We show them 2 eyes. We show them 2 ears. Then they understand what does 2 mean. So when they are in a higher class, if we are teaching a tough chapter, we need to make them visualize it. So visual aids are very important for learning. We should not underestimate it. Then mistake 5, speed over understanding. Jaldi karo, do it fast. That's what we say? No. Think and do. That's what our statement should be. Think, read the question well. Whatever is written in the question, first put it in your paper. Then think over it. So we have to give them steps. How do they think? We have to develop their thinking ability, not their doing ability. So we tell the kids, don't rush. Think first. Read the question and then do it. And we are doing the otherwise. Finish the homework fast. We have to go to the market. Don't do that. Let them do it with full concentration, with full focus, enjoying it. If we rush them through, it's very difficult for them to learn the topic. Mistake 6. Give answers instead of building thinking. So here when the homework comes, the teacher has given some homework. The educator says you have to solve 5 questions on the topic that we have done today. The child is struggling. Obviously, that's our brain. That's how our brain is wired. It resists doing something difficult. So the child might struggle. Child might say, I don't want to do. But you know the teacher is going to scold the child. So instead of motivating the child to do the homework, you help the child to do it. So what have we done? We have actually disturbed the thinking process of the child. And this will become a pattern where the child will not want to think beyond his boundaries. Whereas we have to tell the child, we can motivate the child, we can suggest him some ideas of thinking, but not give the solution and not make them do the question with our help. They should be doing it with their help, and in case not able to solve, they should go and ask the teacher. The 7th, marks over confidence. So when we are talking about marks, we give it more weightage. How many marks did you get in the test? How did you feel after giving the test? Were you confident while giving the test? So our questions should be that. Or after every chapter, we should give some simple questions which will boost the confidence of the child. Instead of hampering the confidence by giving him tough, hot questions to show that you haven't learned enough, you need more practice, don't do that. Give them confidence. Small things will give small confidence but help build the bigger confidence in the life later on. So, what do we conclude? So, the conclusion is children aren't afraid of maths, they are afraid of confusion caused by that method of teaching. The method of teaching is confusing, that's why that confusion changes to fear. And if fear can be learned, then maths can also be learned. Then confidence of learning maths can also be learned. I hope these 7 mistakes are what you have been doing which made your child not like maths or hate maths. But I surely feel the brain can be rewired. And that's exactly why I created Easy Maths Learning Map. In my next video, I'll share 7-step roadmap I use to help students understand maths. Because my mission isn't to tutor them maths or get them good grades, my mission is to build confidence through maths. Maths is my tool to create confidence. And if this message resonates with you, share it with a friend, a parent, a teacher, or a student who needs to hear it. I'll see you in my next video where we'll begin our journey with Easy Maths Learning Map. See you. Bye bye.